Good morning. Welcome to Unity Orlando. Our opening statement this morning is, God is inside me and guides my way through every moment of every day. Let's all affirm that together. God is inside me and guides my way through every moment of every day. All right, let's all close our eyes, take a nice deep breath in. Let's affirm that together in the silence. And so it is. And now if you'd like to stand and help us sing our joy song this morning, it's My Love, Your Love.
Stronger in the midst of chaos, lead me to wander in all your glory, lead me to ponder miracles now unfolding. Let Spirit guide us and help us find our way.
Nice. Good morning, Unity Orlando. How's everybody doing today? Good to see your faces. It's a girls' morning, I see. Welcome online. I'm Susan Francis, your platform speaker. I don't see any visitors. I recognize everyone. Just a reminder, if you're watching from home, take a moment to click on the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and share our videos with friends and family. It's really important because that gets the word out into the world. Let's see. Also, did you know that we host AA meetings here on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. and Friday at 7:30 in Meyer Hall? We've been doing that for over 30 years. If you know someone who's looking for a meeting, this is a very welcoming group. So be aware of that. Prayer chaplains, of course, are available to pray with you after service. We just had our prayer chaplain training, and we were talking about, we really want to reiterate that we are available to pray with you in person. We don't get to do that much. So if you need prayer, and it doesn't have to be for something dire, it could be in celebration of life's events. So we would love to pray with you. We also pray every evening at 8 p.m. remotely. Join us then. And the March affirmation is, I am a child of God, with one with God's light and wisdom. I see my way clearly. We have our healing service today after second service. Come back or stay, whatever you'd like to do. We'll have Reiki and a light massage. It was a big hit last time, so we're hoping for a good turnout today. Also, Deborah is going to play the bowls and her Indian flute. Today, we're so excited. We have a wonderful speaker. She's our very own Quin LeFlore. Let me tell you a little bit about Quin, for those who don't know her. She is a personal development coach and the founder of Quintessential Living. That is such an awesome name. Like, it matches her completely. A personal development and wellness practice that centers on experiences of women. She specializes in creating culturally responsive, emotionally safe spaces where individuals can explore personal growth, emotional intelligence, and holistic well-being. With over 7 years of personal and professional experience in coaching, Quin's approach is known for being inspirational, relational, compassionate, and deeply insightful. Quin empowers people to align with their purpose and create lives of intention, wellness, and impact. So we're thrilled to have her talk today. Her lesson is called Following Divine Guidance. Of course, before I turn it over to Brian, I have a little story to tell you about 3 elderly gentlemen. There was a guy named Eddie, Jenkins, and Martin, and they go to the doctor for a memory test. It's a miracle they even remembered the appointment in the first place. Anyway, the doctor starts by asking, Eddie, what is 5 times 5? And Eddie says 191. The doctor rolls his eyes and looks up at the ceiling and says, Jenkins, it's your turn. What is 5 times 5? Wednesday, replies Jenkins. The doctor shakes his head sadly. Then he asks the third man, okay, Martin, it's your turn. What is 5 times 5? And Martin says, 25. That's great, Martin, says the doctor. How did you get that answer? Easy, says Martin. Just subtract 191 from Wednesday. You get that.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. All right, so without further ado, I'm turning it over to Brian.
All right, thank you, Susan. And I sat down to write this song and thinking about what would it be like with divinity running through you, and I discovered that it would be kind of like what the title is. A Golden Life. Here we go.
What if I could just walk away from all this pain inside? What if I could just find a way to step into a golden life? A golden life, not the kind that weighs you down, but the kind that keeps your good coming round. The kind of life that sings you a song, the kind of life I know you belong. When I walk around, I shine your light. Only when I follow your guide, like turning up a fire within me bright, something I don't want to hide. A golden life, the kind of life that brings you along, a certain good that surely belongs to a life that all the pain is gone. a certain good that surely belongs to a life that all the pain is gone. A golden life, the kind of life that sings you a song, a life that gems in beauty of drawn. When I step away from the pain, here a golden life remains. A golden life, a golden life, a golden life.
Okay. Good morning, Unity Orlando. It is such an honor to be here to share with you a series of events that I've experienced over the last 3 to 4 years and how I have learned to follow my divine guidance. First, I'd like to thank Susan and Reverend Paul for your amazing support in this process. You are amazing guides, and I'm so lucky to have you in my life. And Brian and band, you all really always usher in the Spirit of God into the day with a beautiful song. It's always appropriate, it's always aligned, and it always flows. So thank you so much for setting the tone today as well. So today's talk is really focused around how to honor and follow your divine guidance. It is my hope that you will receive this message with a curious mind and an open heart and leave with just one little nugget that can help you navigate life with more clarity and peace. For the next slide, I'd love for you to take a journey back to your younger self. You are sitting at the dinner table, looking down at your plate, and there's a vegetable on that plate that you're not quite fond of. It may be Brussels sprouts, it may be broccoli, maybe asparagus. Who knows? It's just something that you're not really into. And your mom or your guardian gets up and walks over and says, "Now, little Susan, make sure you eat your vegetables. Make sure you eat that broccoli so that you can grow up strong and healthy." Now, if you're anything like me, you would have said, "Why? What's in the broccoli? How's that going to help me? How long do I have to eat this?" A lot of us often receive guidance in our day, and we get to choose whether or not we want to take it. And luckily, God gave us the gift of free will. And that free will we get to exercise. Today, we're going to discuss how we can learn to use that free will to tap into our divine guidance that is always flowing through us and around us, that golden life that Brian was speaking about. But before, let's review some factors that determine how we receive and accept guidance first. So I invite you to just reflect on a couple of these. On the next slide, you will see some on the next slide, you will see that when it comes to following guidance, we don't really follow it blindly. We have some prerequisites. The first is that it requires trust and a feeling of safety, a belief in source, a feeling of legitimacy. Like, I can trust this source. I feel safe here. It requires openness, receptivity, a willingness to receive the guidance, but also being able to comprehend it. So that's the next point. It requires understanding or clarity, the ability to hear and understand the request. I call it cognitive alignment. Your brain understands the information that is coming into you. And then next, it requires alignment with one's will. You're seeing value in the guidance that is being offered to you. So you're seeing that, oh, this broccoli is, oh, it's going to help me. Oh, very good. It's going to give me strength. Wonderful. There's value here. And it also aligns with your will. That's the kicker right there. It aligns with your will. And then finally, it requires a little bit of compliance, so action or restraint. And if you're missing just one of these, the guidance can be overlooked, ignored, or rejected. And so I'd like for you to think about how many times have you been given guidance and you didn't trust the source, or you were really willing to receive the information, but you didn't really understand it, and you just didn't align with your will. So on the next slide, you will see a little bit about the process of how we receive our guidance. We receive our guidance, as you can see at the very top there, requests coming into the central nervous system, and our brain takes that information and it processes it, and it says, oh, I trust this source. Oh, okay, I like this. I received this information. I understand it. Okay, and this aligns with my will. I think I'd like to take action here. And so it kicks out and it says, approved. I think I want to do this. Or actually, this requires a little bit of restraint, and you get to choose. So you've signed off on that, and you take action. Now, if it doesn't align, if it's not a trusted source, if it's not, you don't understand it, of course it gets kicked back into the feedback loop or continues into processing. So you're either negotiating with yourself, what do I really want this? Or can I get something else instead? Or can I renegotiate this? Or you just decline flat out, no, I don't want this. I don't like this guidance. It's not going to happen. I'm moving on. So a lot of that happens in our day-to-day. We are constantly processing the information that is coming into our minds, and we're deciding whether or not to accept it or not. On the next slide, we will review a little bit about, how that started. And our earliest encounters with following with guidance started in childhood. Little did we know that we already were hardwired to have a specific temperament, or I call it behaviors that are biologically imprinted in us. And they are relatively independent of learning, so they're just our natural wiring. It was our temperament or our natural behavioral patterns that allow us to largely be influenced to receive structure, information, guidance, or reject it. And we have learned a lot of this from our parents. So our parents are a lot of times the ones that are the guiding forces, our first guiding forces in our lives. And so studies by Alexander Thomas and Stella Chase identified that there are a couple of different temperament styles. And I'd like for you to take a moment to reflect on which one you were at a very young age. So the first one is the naturally compliant and highly agreeable child. This child follows guidance because they understand the rules and they value their relationships and they listen and do everything their parents tell them. This child said, when the parent says, please clean up your toys before dinner, this child says, okay, I'll do it right away. Do you want me to put the blocks in the blue bin? The next child is the learn compliant or reward motivated child, which is very slow to warm. So listens and complies only to get a reward. And this child follows instructions temporarily, so be careful what they do behind your back. This child, when the parent says, please clean up your toys, this child says, do I have to do all of them? What do I get if I finish? And if I do it now, do I get dessert? And then the other temperament would be the strong-willed child. So the questioning child, the challenging child. These children often experience guidance as a challenge to independence. it's not just a request. So this child pushes against any sort of control. So this, when the parent says, "Please clean up your toys," the child says, "Why? I'm still playing. Why can't you do it?" Which one do you feel like you are or were? Keep that little nugget to yourself. On the next slide, you'll see a little bit more about the nature. So we just covered the nurture, we covered the nature part of our way of receiving guidance. The next we will cover is your nurture, how you were raised and how that affects how you receive guidance. And our first encounters, as I already stated, are with our parents and our guardians. And that is often a relationship that helps nurture or mold the way we are compliant and able to receive guidance. The next space would be schools. So schools are where, children experience authority outside of the parents, and they learn rule following, they learn group following, and they don't necessarily they have some resistance there, but it's a lot about learning to follow the rules. And then the third would be a community. So children often learn to follow guidance through community norms, belief systems like church and other group structures. And so researchers like Diana Baumrin identified also that another huge component when it comes to our learning to follow divine guidance also includes the parenting styles. And parenting styles, as I'm sure you're already familiar with, or the teaching styles, depending on who is guiding you, you have learned a different way to take that action afterwards. So when we think about our different parenting styles, we have authoritative, which is structured and warm. So keeping firm boundaries, but also flexible, willing to negotiate, willing to answer the questions of the child. And then we have authoritarian structures, which means very strict, and there's only one way. This has to be done this way. And then the third is permissive, which is very few boundaries. So when little Jimmy pushes back and says, why don't you clean up the toys? It's like, well, okay, I could do that. Yes. So, through these interactions, children learn whether rules are consistent, how authority communicates, and whether guidance is explained, negotiated, or enforced. And so these are part of the factors that play into how we learn to follow our guidance. Now, on the next slide, when we become adults, this is the most fun part, right? We're all excited. We're adults. We've been able to break free of all of the rules and things that everybody has been telling us. Go here, do this, stand up, sit down. Now we're free, and we can exercise what we consider to be our free will in so many ways. So we become adults. We believe we have finally arrived. No more curfews, no more rules, no more because I said so. And we spend our entire time focusing on ourselves, a lot of times on ourselves and what we get to do, all of the possibilities. But there's always someone waiting for us. And on the other side of adulthood is God, waiting for you, our original parent, ready, patient, loving, and with a plan. But here's the caveat. Everything we've learned growing up, and that was taught to us, and how to follow guidance in the terrestrial, the physical self, the seen, the logical following of guidance. We learned the laws of that world, but we didn't really learn the laws. No one handed us a manual of how to follow our divine guidance, how to follow spiritual guidance. And somewhere along the way, we start asking questions. On the next slide, I'm going to review the two toolkits. We're going to review the toolkit that we are most familiar with, that we grow up with, which is the terrestrial or physical guidance toolkit. And this toolkit, I like to say, is it's pretty familiar. It's the one that we go to often. We use it quite frequently. The first one is the mind. The first tool in the toolkit of the terrestrial guidance is our mind. So our mind is our cognitive instrument. It seeks truth and it answers through thinking, plans, and processing. It responds to logic, what we can see, what we can touch, what we can prove, the very tangible. We just know we can think our way or plan our way or analyze our way out of any situation. The mind is the number one tool we're taught to use. Then we have our body, which is our physical instrument. It seeks truth and answers through perception, use of our physical self, emotions, and also strength. So this reminds me of when Reverend Paul was speaking about when he was trying to fix his car, and he just knew he could fix it with force, and then usually he knew he could just get it in there and and so we often do that. We know we can just use our might and our will and our physical force to get through something. The next is our relationships. We often use this one because this is one of the first tools that we used growing up, our family or friends. So we are phoning family and friends when it comes to challenges and also seeking guidance from them. So this is really helpful, and we rely on it a lot. And then finally, our data. We love our data, don't we? We love Google. Google, tell me what I need to know today. Give me the guidance that I need. We go to our books, we go to our literature, and these are often our terrestrial, our physical guidance tools. Then we have our celestial guidance toolkit, which I love this one because for a lot of us, we don't really come to this until we either need something or we learn over time to use this toolkit. So this grows, we learn. And so the first part of that is God, Holy Spirit, and Jesus Christ. So our source, original architect of our life, and of the designer of our path, this Holy Spirit, which is the guidance, the true GPS, not the GPS in your car, but your internal GPS, like bringing wisdom and something beyond your education, beyond the tangible, beyond the experience. And then we have Jesus Christ, our model and mediator, shows us what life looks like when you're living in full alignment with God's will. Then we have our angels, our messengers and guardians assigned to you, working behind the scenes, helping you align and move through life's challenges with a little support. And we also have prayer and meditation. I call this a communication channel, where we have a two-way conversation. Just so you know, you can have a two-way conversation. And so you're sending out requests or you're asking for guidance, and there are answers that come back to you if you're willing to listen and be still. And then finally, we have divine intuition and spiritual gifts, the inner knowing, a small, quiet voice and feeling, faith and discernment. I believe I forgot one on here. I'd love to say the Holy Bible, just because it is another guidance tool that we go to, and it's a great resource. So you see, we were given two completely different toolkits in navigating this life. And this first toolkit we know really well. And the next one we have an opportunity to develop and grow a lot more. So on the next slide, you will see how God gets our attention. I love this one so much because this is how it started for me. This is how my spiritual journey really kicked in. And I was a very young 20-something-year-old and just running through life very fast, not with any real plan, just reacting to everything that happened to me. And I'm just young and here, and I'm just going to do the things and stuff. And with that, I realized that, okay, well, life is good. I'm happy. All things are going pretty well. And when you look at how God gets our attention, it starts with feelings. And it starts from within. And I noticed that I would start to have these feelings about certain situations, and not necessarily I didn't really pay attention. that's just a silly feeling. I'm just going to put that aside. And I just kept moving forward. And unfortunately, that didn't serve me all too well because those feelings are there for a reason. And once the feelings weren't working, then God started sending me signs and messages. And one of the first signs and messages I started to receive was 911. We all know 911, right? We use it to call someone for help in an emergency. So as a young 23-year-old looking around and seeing persistent 911s everywhere, I thought, what is going on here? Am I going bonkers? Why am I seeing 911? And I started to get a little curious of like, why was this happening to me? And why was I seeing this so much? What was the emergency? And I later discovered that a lot of times Spirit communicates to us in specific signs. So we'll start out with numbers. And numbers are very tangible to us. We can see them, we're familiar, we use them all the time. And so that was one of the ways that Spirit started to speak to me. And it became a pattern. And so with that, I got a little curious. But then when the numbers weren't working, I had to start to have experiences. Repetitive experiences over and over and over again. Accidents, conflict. It just felt like I was living in Groundhog's Day. It felt like it was his name Jim Belushi? Is that the right? Yeah. I was perpetually going through the same experience over and over again, but with greater intensity. What is this? Why do I keep going through this? Why do I feel like I keep knocking my head against a wall? What do I need to learn here? And I was too young and moving too fast to actually recognize that, but God had been teaching me all along through every pattern, every sign, every feeling, every repeated experience. God was saying, my child, there's something here you haven't learned. Pay attention. Stop repeating this class over and over and over again. So, but I love you too, in that God loves me too much to let me skip the class. So I had to keep going back and learning it over again. On this next slide, how does God get us attention? I always like to say that first slide that you just saw is really how it starts, and the second slide is how it's going. So it first starts out as a whisper. So you'll have an experience or you'll have that feeling that comes up for you, and it's that small little whisper. That's not quite right. You shouldn't be talking to this person, or maybe you shouldn't go to that event, or perhaps you may consider doing something else instead. And you brush it aside because, life is moving fast. And then you have a normal voice, the normal voice that comes in and says, hello. This is not right for you. I think you should try something different. And you say, I don't know. Did someone hear something in here? I don't know. And then you go, and then the next level of that is the shout. The shout is, hey, didn't you just hear me the last 2 times? This place is not good for you. This person is not good for you. This path that you're on is definitely not good for you. And it gets louder. Now, if you don't really understand the whisper, the voice, and the shout, just think of it as, I always like to say if you want to get a little bit more physical, there's the tap, the little tap on the shoulder, hey. There's a punch, and then there's maybe a 2x4. And then there's maybe a Mack truck, right? Like Y.E. Coyote. And it's a progression, okay? I like to think of a crescendo. For those who are our music lovers, it's a crescendo. It gets louder and louder and louder, and it gets harder and harder and harder. And so with that, I love for us to think about, just something that we may experience in our lives that we knew we had that feeling, we had that sign, we had that experience. And so in the next slide, I'd love to share with you my own story, my series of threes. I always like to say it happens in threes. Once it gets beyond three, ooh, watch out. I was living in St. Pete, Florida, what I consider to be my utopia. St. Pete was my bee's knees. I love St. Pete so much. There was no way you could get St. Pete out of my system. There's no way you get me to leave St. Pete. If I was the poster child of St. Pete, move to St. Pete. It's the best place ever. Yay, let's come here. And St. Pete was just very much a joy for me because I did a lot of my spiritual growth in St. Pete. And so when I lived there, I had a beautiful apartment. It was tiny, and it was an above garage unit, and it was very cheap. Only paid $1,000 a month. Shh. It was great, pre-COVID, of course. And then I had a very good landlord, and we were friends, and it was a good experience. I could walk to this beautiful lake, as you can see this picture, and walk around the lake, get my steps in, and watch the birds, and just be one with nature, and it was beautiful. And unfortunately, I started to have this feeling like I was a flower outgrowing her flower pot. I was starting to feel constrained and stagnant. And I remember even saying to my landlord one day, I feel like I'm a flower outgrowing her flower pot. Just streaming information out that I'm not even listening to, but I would look back on it now. That was a feeling, so it started with an urge. Then third, it came a sign. The sign was the request for me to move. My job said, you need to move to Jacksonville. We want you in person. You're no longer remote. I need you in Jacksonville. And if you don't move, then you're going to be fired. Oh, well, I chose St. Pete over my job because I could find another job. I love St. Pete so much. Very, very audacious move. And then the third was the experience. My landlord happened to tell me, oh, I've gotten mold remediation on the house and also the garage. And I got a little curious. Mold remediation? Mold? I live above your garage. No mold remediation for me? And I decided to ask him for mold remediation. And unfortunately, he said, 2 days later, notice to vacate. Yes. And so let's just say I pulled up my big girl pants and I said, I'm going to fight this. This is not going to work. I'm not going to do this. And I decided to fight it, and I did. And things worked out for a little moment, but ultimately I did end up having to move very last minute, and it was a painful move. It was very unfortunate. And so when we think about that, there are a lot of signs there. On the next slide, you will see my second apartment. Yes, thank you. This was in Palm Harbor. And in Palm Harbor, I was very comfortable there. My neighbors were wonderful. I enjoyed them immensely. And I had a premonition, though. I had a feeling I was only going to be there for about a year. I just kind of knew already. But when it came around to renewing my lease, I had had surgery like a month and a half before, and I said to self, I know I'm supposed to move, but I don't want to move. I just had surgery. There's no way. That's going to be stressful on my body. Brain, logic. And I said, I am just going to go ahead and sign this lease and be done with it. Now, around that time, I got another sign, 911, around signing my lease and feelings of uneasiness, but I disregarded that as well. Kept on going. 1 month after signing my lease, there was a fire 30 feet away from my building. The building that my apartment looked out over into was eradicated. It burned down in 8 minutes. I had fire damage, smoke damage. I had to get rid of a lot of furniture, and I had to move. In one day, I had to move out and move in with a friend for 2 weeks and then scour to look for another apartment. You see what happens when you don't listen? The third story is on the next slide. You'll see the other experience I had in my Safety Harbor apartment. A lot of moving happened in 1.5 years, like so much. And so in this Safety Harbor apartment, I really loved this space. I moved in and I stayed there for maybe all of 3 months before I had to go to Orlando because my grandmother was transitioning. I stayed in Orlando for about 3 months and supported her transition and then moved back to my apartment. And I was ready to stay and just nest and restore. But God had a different plan. God had Hurricane 1 and Hurricane 2, Category 5. And I ended up transferring and, of course, moving out to stay in Tennessee for a little bit, and then I came back. And so with all that moving, of course, when I came back, of course, I was just going to stay and just recuperate. There's no way I'm just going to move again. But then I had this feeling like, I need to move to Orlando. I had this urge. I need to move to Orlando. I need to be closer there. And I had 2 different people ask me about moving to Orlando. I had a family friend, and then I had a friend message me on Instagram. I hadn't talked to in 2 years, message me, did you move to Orlando? Huh? I haven't talked to you in 2 years. Where did that come from? And also I got another notice to vacate, which was around, or it's more as a renewing my lease. But I asked, I said, what happened? I know I signed a 12-month lease. No, you signed an 8-month lease. Huh? How did that happen? But this time I decided to accept the messages. This time I decided to be still. I decided to actually take a little action, and I looked into some Orlando places. And in investigating 3 different places, I went to Longwood, Apopka, Lake Nona. And when I went to Lake Nona, guess what I saw? A rainbow. It was like I was going into Oz. Like, welcome to Lake Nona. What are the odds of going to see a place and you see a rainbow? Not only that, but no deposit necessary, easy move in, just ease and flow. Then also, when I was driving back, I asked God, I was praying to God again, 2-way conversation. Hey, what do I need to know about this? Do you approve of this move? Is this something that is an alignment? And as soon as I pray, I look to my left of the license plate, left of my car, and I see a license plate that says "Movin'," MOOOVIN. Okay. The third double check was me going into a garden where I decided to have another conversation with God because I just was so tired, God. I just don't really feel like moving right now. I've been moving all along. And I prayed and said, God, what do I need to know about this move? Is there anything else you need to tell me? And I decided to go down the path, and I saw this beautiful flower. And I looked at the flower, and I bent over, and I saw the flower, and I said, oh, this is a gorgeous flower. What is the name of this flower? And I looked to the left, and the name of the flower was Obedient Flower. If you know anything about my last name means the flower. I felt like that was a very clear sign, obedient flower. Yes, you need to move. Go ahead. And so it was by acknowledging the feeling and then taking the action and having the conversation and getting confirmation and being still that I was able to move comfortably with ease and flow. And that was my story. So this is how I learned to follow my divine guidance. And so in the next slide, you will see the spiritual truths about guidance. And you'll see here at the top, it says, we must obey God rather than human beings. And when I think of human beings, I think of our human mind also. We are a human being. So when we think about ourselves and who we obey, a lot of times we have a say in things, but we also have guidance that is happening for us so that we can have an easier life. In Proverbs 3 verses 5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. To lean not on your own understanding, that's pretty hard, right? Because our brain wants to come in and analyze and use logic and try to say, oh, this is the right way. I know it's the right way. I'm going to force it to make it the right way, and I'm going to fight it. But when you take a step back and allow Spirit to guide you, or take a step back to look at the patterns, to take a step back and align with the next best steps, to ask the conversations, you can really gain a lot more ease, a lot more peace in your day-to-day. You are not alone. You are not alone. The third is A Course in Miracles, lesson number 24. I do not perceive my own best interests, but God does perceive your best interests. It just takes some aligning and takes some stepping back. James 1, verse 22, be doers of the word and not merely hearers who deceive themselves. I love this one because I had an old friend say, people are addicted to information but allergic to application. They love information. Oh, tell me what I need to know. Give me all the information. Tell me, research. Tell me, give me advice. How many of us have had friends that ask for advice relentlessly but actually never take the advice? You may have been that friend as well. And that's the same thing when it comes to your divine guidance. You have guidance that you receive, that you notice, but you don't really take. You don't take action on it, so you just sit on it. And it's going to come back around, though. And the last is Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 through 2. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow at his commands, the Lord will set you high above all the nations on earth, and these blessings will come upon you. I really love this because that's where the ease and flow comes in. When you really try to align with your guidance, you really slow down and try to get out of your head and follow what is being shown to you, you reap a lot of rewards, a lot more rewards than you just doing it alone. The next slide is finally our experience with guidance. I always like to say, with our spiritual selves, our celestial selves, we begin to realize that our requests from Spirit or God and God, or a lot of it is within. And this request is, it's not fully external. Sometimes it can be, but it's always in your best interest to listen because it's coming from our true source. The request is not biased, it's not manipulative, it's not trying to get you to do something that you don't want to do or for a gain. The request to help you enlighten with your one true self, your real identity as a child of God. And it brings harmony, peace, not struggle, strife, resistance, friction. And we often treat our spiritual obedience with the same biased approach that we treat our physical or terrestrial obedience. We say, oh, that's just a suggestion. I didn't see that. No, it couldn't be. That was just a coincidence. That was just my imagination. But as a result of disregarding our divine guidance, we experience unrest. There's a lot of noise, a lot of chaos that happens. We also have some resistance, struggle, conflict, accidents, things happen. We also feel disconnected. We feel alone. Why is this happening to me? And then we also feel heavier and life feels overwhelming. But on the opposite side, when we follow our divine guidance, as you all saw, my last apartment, when I followed the guidance, I had peace and clarity in my actions. There was ease and flow, meaning I had a rainbow where I was supposed to go. And I felt supported and aligned, and I felt like life was a lot more harmonious and joyful, a lot more freedom. And so I hope you will consider that, spiritual obedience is not just one single moment. It's not one dramatic yes, but a series of small yeses. It's a journey of surrender and alignment. It's daily, it's moment by moment, it's choosing the voice of God within, following Spirit's guidance, over the noise of the world, over the shoulds, the coulds, the I have tos, all of the relentless pushing. So every morning you wake up, you have a choice. You can pick up your terrestrial toolkit and hold on so tightly, the worry, the analysis paralysis, the striving, the control, or you can use and reach for your celestial, your spiritual toolkit, your prayer, the peace, having the conversation, looking for the patterns, paying attention to your feelings. One will exhaust you. The other will carry you forward as if you're on a magic carpet ride. Ease and flow. So God just didn't save your soul. He gave you a complete toolkit. And the question is, which toolkit are you willing to reach for? On the next slide, you'll see some of the ABCDs to following your guidance. And this is just a recommendation from my experience in what has worked. 1A, acknowledge the feeling. Acknowledge even the resistance, the friction that you may see in your life. The resistance and friction versus the ease and flow patterns in your life. They may come in forms of repetitive experiences like conflicts, accidents, feelings, premonitions. This is an invitation to pause. Some resistance and friction is here. Why is this happening? 2, be curious, observe the patterns. Try to connect the dots, journal if you will. Sometimes journaling helps us process. And then 3rd, communicate. Have a conversation with God. Communicate. Is this am I seeing what I'm seeing here? Is this correct? Am I making the next best step? Is this aligned? Is this your will? Is this right? And then take a step back to discern what you're being told. And then finally, surrender. Surrender and step forward in faith. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thy will be done on earth, your terrestrial self, as it is in heaven. It's a connection, as above, so below. And so I invite you to just take a moment as we move into meditation to center yourselves in your seat and really bring to mind perhaps a moment in your life that is causing you a little friction right now, or something that you are maybe just even curious about that has you thinking incessantly, wondering, up at night, trying to solve the problem, trying to find the answer. And as you bring that subject, that experience to mind, I invite you to take 3 deep breaths. Calling on God, Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ. Continue to take 3 more deep breaths, clearing your mind, allowing light to enter your mind, clearing your heart, allowing your heart to be light and full of love, and in clearing your body, allowing your body to relax fully in your seat. And as you sit and contemplate what it is that you need clarity on, bring it into the light holding it in your hand and offering it as a gift for guidance, for understanding, for clarity. Letting go of any thoughts or any preconceived notions about what you think should happen, but allowing divine to receive and hear and feel and know that you are willing to work with, to follow the divine guidance, the right path for the highest good of yourself and others. And as you stand there with that object, that experience in your hand, I invite you to slowly release the object, to release the experience, letting go, watching it transform into something incredibly beautiful, watching it morph into a beautiful flower, a flower that is illuminated, that has a gem in the middle, in the center. There's a gift here if you're willing to receive it. And as you observe this gem, take a step forward and receive it into your heart, knowing that guidance, love, peace, clarity is your divine right. It is your gift. If you're willing to let go and receive. And as you receive this gift, this gem into your heart, allow the knowing, the truth, to fill your body, to fill your soul with clarity on your next best steps. And give thanks for the support, for the love, for the joy, and the peace that God in Spirit ushers forward for you. For you are deserving, and you are a child of God, and you are loved. And we give thanks for all of these things. We say amen. Thank you.
Wasn't that wonderful? Thank you, Quin. Thank you. That was wonderful. If our usher would come forward, please. Just a reminder that at the end of service, you can go to the homepage of our website and you can click on the Donate Now button or use PayPal, or you can come to the office and use a credit card or give Linda a check. There's lots of ways you can support Unity Orlando. Or you can mail a check in too. And you can arrange regular payments. So we thank you for your offering. We'll go ahead and take it in our hands for those here in person. And we're going to say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. Thank you, God. And now we have our special music.
All right. Thank you, Susan.
I walk a narrow path. I walk with rod and staff. I speak your word and it comforts my soul. When stillness turns to silence, when the whole world is quiet, I feel your loving light come shining through my life. And I feel grateful you're lighting up my life. My love divine light shine. And I feel grateful you're lighting up my life. My love divine light shine. Sometimes my heart may stumble in a world that's full of rubble. Sometimes our humanness will cause us to fall. Open up to spirit guidance, illuminating omnipresence, listening in the spirit for spirit to call. And I feel grateful you're lighting up my life. My love divine light shine. And I feel grateful you're lighting up my life. My love divine light shine. And I feel grateful you're lighting up my life. My love divine light shine. And I feel grateful you're lighting up my life. My love divine light. My love divine light. My love divine light shine. Divine light shine. Ooh, divine light shine. Divine light shine.
Wow, thank you, Brian. That was awesome. Did you hear those words? Like, Brian, figured it out. It was right to Quin's talk. It's amazing, isn't it? Divine guidance. You got a thing going. All right, well, thank you guys for supporting Unity Orlando. Next Sunday, I will be speaking. And I'm going to talk about the phrase walking. We're all just walking each other home. So that's going to be my topic next week. So come if you can, or listen online. It'll be great. So we're going to close our service with the prayer for protection. If everyone would stand. And we say, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is, and all is well. God bless every one of you.